This is a revision of Strategic Business Leader for the exam period of March-June 2021. And this is a question 2. We have briefing notes. A. Evaluation of current risk management process. It is encouraging that the Executive Board undertook a thorough risk identification exercise which lasted for a full day and involved relevant operational staff. However, the thoroughness of this exercise is undermined by the fact that it has been treated as a one-off project, which is now completed. Instead, risk identification should be a permanent and ongoing activity. The suggestion that the exercise will be repeated at some point in the future is too vague. Having identified a large number of risks, there has been no attempt to assess them. This makes it very difficult to prioritize the most important risks, especially given that the list runs to 150 items requiring investigation. It would be appropriate to estimate the likelihood and impact of each risk and record this on the risk register. These factors, which can be given a numeral ranking if necessary, will allow the Executive Board to address the most serious risks first. Without effective risk management, the risk planning becomes much harder. The challenge of sharing 150 risks between the 4 members of the Executive Board is compounded by the 2-week deadline to identify and implement an appropriate action. This is the risk that, in an attempt to hit the deadline, the directors do not consider a full range of risk management strategies, or that they do not implement them as effectively as they should. Finally, even if the controls were sufficient, NCCP risks can change dramatically, and without warning. Historically, Civil Council's criteria have changed annually, and this trend is expected to continue. It is highly unlikely that the board's actions identified on the current register would be sufficient to deal with these risks without further intervention. Actions to improve the risk management process. Risk management should be added to the register in the form of likelihood and impact columns. A further column should be added to the register to identify when the risk should be reviewed. Constant risks such as fire can be reviewed less regularly, in line with health and safety regulation. However, volatile risks such as cybersecurity will need to be reviewed much more often. In order to ensure that the Executive Board is meeting its corporate responsibilities, it would be appropriate to review the risk register monthly, with priority given to those risks which are due for review or which have the highest likelihood and impact. The board should also communicate with staff and volunteers to explain the ongoing nature of risk management and encourage dialogue, which will allow risks to be identified and managed. Given the tension between the CEO and some staff and volunteers, they may be a challenge to implement. B. Although the Executive Board of NCCP is responsible for identifying risks and developing suitable internal controls, other stakeholders will have an interest in these controls, and it is often appropriate and sometimes compulsory for them to be kept informed. Government departments. Some of NCCP's internal controls address fundamental aspects of safety and privacy, and NCCP may have a legal obligation to share information about this with the relevant authority. For example, government bodies may demand evidence of appropriate controls in the fields of health and safety or data protection. Failure to comply with these demands could have serious legal repercussions. Civil Civil counsel. NCCP relies on civil counsel for approximately 30% of its annual income. The executive board would therefore be wise to comply with any request from the council for information about internal controls which may arise as part of these compliance conditions. While NCCP has no legal obligation to share this information, failure to do so is highly likely to result in funding being removed. Donors. Corporate and personal donations form another 30% of NCCP's income due to some high-profile cases of charities misappropriating funds. There is an increased interest in the way donations are being managed. While such donors are unlikely to demand the level of detail which the Council is seeking, it would be appropriate to NCCP to share general information about how it makes effective use of the assets which it has become interested with. The course participants. Participants who attend NCCP's courses benefit from subsidized education. However, they will also be interested in the controls surrounding the courses. For example, they may be concerned about how their personal information is used, whether it is kept confidential and whether it is used for other marketing purpose. Local community. NCCP is clearly well established in the local community. It has a reputation to maintain even among those who are not current participants or donors. It would therefore be appropriate to reinforce this reputation brand by demonstrating good stewardship on the part of the executive board. In the modern business environment, shareholders would expect to receive an annual risk report from the board of directors as part of corporate governance. Although NCCP does not have stakeholders, it would be appropriate for the board to publish an annual risk report as good practice.